I was raised by teenage parents. When my mom got pregnant with me, she was 16. I was born when she was 17 and dad was 19. I really need to do something I don't do often enough, and I need to commend them. They've managed to take their own dirt poor upbringing, and even while raising 4 kids in poverty, they've managed to gift us with a rich mindset. They taught me 4 things about money and success that I will never forget. First, college is a sure way to succeed. Second, homeownership secures your future. Third, pick a career that's always in need. Lawyer, programmer. Fourth, and most importantly, we have no idea what the we're talking about. They knew they didn't know what they were doing, and they tried their hardest not to pretend like they did. In this video, I'm going to discuss how our impoverished parents often sentence us to a life of poverty, what the generationally wealthy know that we don't. And if you stick around to the end, I'm gonna give you my best tips for breaking that cycle, including a very lovely story about my sister, who was a perfectly average B and C student, but managed to wriggle her way into a Harvard bachelor's degree and a Cambridge master's degree. Hey, my name is Christian, but you can call me Lo. And if you're watching this because you yourself were a teen parent or are a teen parent, and you're just wondering how your kid might turn out, trust me, we're all awesome. If you've never read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, first of all, I don't recommend it. Kiyosaki is a scam artist and the book is littered with propaganda, but that's a story for another video. There's one really important takeaway that he goes over in the book, and if you don't know it, Kiyosaki's rich dad, which is his best friend's dad, puts every cent that he makes into building these hotels, which of course eventually make him rich. His poor dad works for his money. His rich dad makes his money work for him. The only reason I mention this is because that's one of the primary reasons that poverty begets poverty. Not because people aren't investing in hotels, but because it's how poor people teach their kids how to treat money and build their careers. They're often blissfully unaware of just how little they actually know about how the world works or how the world will work. Mind fogged by their own perception of reality, and crucially, not reality itself. Even if your parents had a perfect memory, which they don't, the world is evolving faster today than at any point in human history. And what was true in their lifetime might not be true in yours. But those two things don't separate rich people from poor people, not by themselves. Everyone wants what's best for their kids, and everybody has some opinions about what their kids should do. But a 2011 study, and I'll post it in the description below, looking at 13-year-olds' career aspirations and interviewing their parents. And what they found was wealthier parents were much less likely to have an opinion as to what their child's career should be. They're much more likely to encourage their children to let them do whatever they want to do. That same study found that there's no real difference between what rich and poor kids want to do with their lives, but there is a difference between whether or not their parents expected them to change their minds. In so many fewer words, poor parents put pressure on their poor kids to get secure jobs. Rich parents allow their kids to explore, to experiment, to follow their dreams and passions. I mean, you can hardly blame them. Of course, the parents who struggled their whole lives are going to be more reluctant to let their kids take increased risk. There are lots of reasons that rich kids end up more successful, but one of the biggest ones is that they follow their dreams. And even the ones who fall flat on their face in the real world are more experienced, more adaptable, more willing to start that business, more willing to learn that language, more willing to move to that country. They're more willing to take that life-changing risk. Now, there are 5 different money personalities: investors, savers, big spenders, debtors, and shoppers. This video isn't about the 5 money personalities, but it's worth taking a moment to investigate which of those fits your personality. I'll post a few resources about how to figure that out. But many of us who grew up in poverty are spenders, we are debtors, and we're shoppers. We have a very unhealthy relationship with our career and with money more generally. It's instilled with us from childhood, and it's hard to shake even if and when we become wealthy. And even though I'm sitting here and saying that my parents raised me differently, I was always keenly aware of the pressure that my parents were under. I have one of my earliest memories. I have my mom, she lost like $60 out of her pocket. And of course she was devastated. Maybe some of you can relate to this. I had all my spending money, it was like $3, and I put it into her pocket for her to discover. And just like the look on her face when she found that money, thinking it was the 60 that she was missing, and then, oh, the utter disappointment when she realized it was only $3. It's one of my earliest memories, but what I remember from that day is not having enough, not being enough. It shapes you, and it's hard to shake. So what is the lesson that my parents taught me have to do with all of this? Well, the reason that impoverished parents pass their bad habits on to their kids is because they know all too well the pain of not having enough. They want what's best for their kids. They know what they were never able to have. They see something like college or a stable career as just out of reach. They're limited by their own beliefs as to what is even possible. They know that reaching for that fantasy is going to put their kids right back in the same position that they were in at the same age. So they push and they pressure and they push some more the kids into choosing the secure route. I'd be lying if I said my parents never did anything like that. Of course they did. But they had also achieved some semblance of security and then lost it.
50 million people had mortgages, roughly at that. When that bubble burst, it was in the country these people lived.
They added 4 words to the end of every sentence that completely changed the game. But I don't know. I think you should go to college, but I don't know. I think you should settle down and buy a house, but I don't know. I think you should pursue your engineering career, but I don't know. They upped their game again when they said, I don't know why you want to do that, but just do it. I don't know why you want to travel to South America, but just do it. I don't know why you want to take up such an insecure profession as photography, but just do it. I don't know why you want to move all the way to Europe, but you have to live your life. You have to make that choice. You have to take the risk and you have to live with the consequences. Coming from my parents, I remember the day that my dad told me, he said, take risks now because it's going to be a lot harder when you're older. Doesn't matter how old you are now, it's better now than later. It just doesn't work. You have a certain amount of time left on this planet. If you hesitate on a decision, you could wait a year and still make the wrong one. But if you make a decision right now, even the wrong one, you'll be that much closer to figuring out what the right one is, that much closer to living exactly the life you want. Now, I've been intimately connected with a number of people who are what I'll call generationally wealthy over the course of my lifetime. There are a number of factors that make them better at money and success than the rest of us, but the primary one is that they know they deserve what they go for. Not in like the spoiled rich kid kind of way, but like in the I'm just as good as anybody else at MIT kind of way. The my business is going to change the way the world works kind of way. And while these are generalizations, there's a spectrum of wealth, there's a spectrum of mindset. They are backed up by data. I'm going to kick you a story about 3 girls, 3 young women. It's the kind of story that a lot of us might be familiar with. 2 of them were in my graduating class in high school, and the third one is my sister, who graduated a couple years later. The 2 in my graduating class, they were 2 of the top students at my school. One rich, one poor. The rich one had always dreamt of going to MIT, but she didn't even apply. When push came to shove her senior year, she said something along the lines of, the application is too long and I'm not going to get in anyway. The problem is that she's right. The chances of even the most intelligent person at the high school getting into a top university like MIT are slim, but she's likely to go her entire life not even trying because it probably won't happen anyway. Now, the rich girl who I said is also a top student. She applied for 10 different top universities, all of which were probably in the top 30 or 40 universities around the country. She applied for 10, but I think it was more of an ego boost because she expected to get into her top 1 or 2. I wish this was the part of the story where I tell you, of course she did, but she didn't. She got rejected from all 10 of them. But her attitude was so nonchalant, like I shot my shot and I failed. Now we move on. The reason I believe that she's going to succeed is because she doesn't take failure and say, I'm never gonna get in, it's never gonna happen. She takes failure and says, on to the next one. And she did. She ended up going to a state school and then transferring to one of those 10 schools later on in her college education and graduating. As admirable as that is, that's not even the lesson here. There's at least one step above that I think is so much better. So far with these 2 stories, we've discussed essentially the difference between a poor and a rich mindset, but I want to take it one step further and introduce to you a new concept that I'd like to call a hacker mindset. And it starts with the story of my sister. She was perfectly average B and C student. She's obviously an exceptional person, but her grades were never there. And her SAT scores were no different. They were perfectly average, right in line with everybody else. She didn't initially go to college. She started as a missionary in something called YWAM. And so she took like this entirely different route. I think it's very admirable, especially considering my parents being the people that they are. They did keep telling us college is the way to go, home ownership is the way to go, like I said at the beginning. But my sister's probably better at resisting that pressure than any of the other kids. And she didn't. She went and she lived in India, she lived in Cambodia, and when she was finished, she felt called to go to Harvard. And of course, mom and dad and brother were thinking there's no real chance of that. And there wasn't a real chance of that. It was this pipe dream that nobody thought was possible, that wasn't possible. She applied and she got rejected. And that's not where the story ends. Keep watching. She got the same rejection letter as 95% of the students who applied to Harvard, but then she did something different and she found a loophole. She dug and searched and researched and asked questions, and she found a hack called the Harvard Extension School, which I'd never heard of, and I still don't know if other universities have anything similar. They don't advertise it. It's not a thing that people normally do. You don't have to get accepted or anything like that. You just go into a class. As long as you maintain their minimum grade, you are allowed to continue with your education. I think there's something just so exceptional about my sister's mindset, not taking that no, saying, I know I'm supposed to do this. I know I'm supposed to get that degree. I know that I'm gonna do this. And she took it slow. She started online, and eventually she moved to Boston and she finished her degree. And I have to say, I think that secretly my parents, when we went to Boston to celebrate her getting her degree, I mean, I do think that my parents, they just never thought that that was possible. And if my sister had listened to them, it wouldn't have been. And then my sister, she took it 5 steps further, and she used that as a stepping stone to apply for her master's at Cambridge University. So she lives here in the UK, and she got her master's degree from Cambridge. Arguably the 2 top universities in the world. An average BC student just flies through them. I'm really proud of my sister. She's obviously already accomplished great things, and she's just gonna keep knocking down walls. I am really excited to see what life has in store for her. Now, I'm not trying to say that you will always succeed. Your chance of success might even be in the single digits or lower. I'm not even trying to say that these opportunities are always available to you. What I'm trying to say is if you don't believe it will work, if you're not trying to figure out how to make it work, if you're not passionate about what you want, you have already failed. Now, a hacker mindset might be like a natural byproduct of being given a rich mindset with limited resources. A poor mindset says it's never going to happen. I may as well not try. A rich mindset says, I try and I fail and I try again. A hacker mindset says, I try and I fail, I find a loophole and I make it work. So please, answer in the comments below. Is your mindset rich? Is it poor? Or are you a hacker? How to break the cycle. Now this is gonna be much easier said than done, so bear with me here. Number 1, if you have kids, let them figure things out for themselves. I'm not saying let them run wild and do whatever they want. The fact is the world is changing faster than at any point in human history. And if you pressure them into accepting your dogma, the information about how you think the world works, you will be holding them back. Number 2, create a cushion. You will have to take risks, and you will almost definitely fail at least once. I've taken risks with and without a cushion, and let me tell you, I will not do it without one again unless I absolutely have to. Many of my subscribers are delivery drivers and other gig workers. That means that you already have a somewhat flexible cushion that is disappearing. Build and take risks now, not later. 3, if you keep trying, no matter what it is, eventually you will succeed. You try, you fail, you adapt, you succeed. You can fail 100 times, but only that last success even counts. Know that your self-worth and your value to the world is not dependent on your success or failure. You fail, you try again. You fail, you try again. Number 4, figure out which money personality fits you the best. Most people have more than one, and there isn't anything inherently wrong with any of them. It's fine to accept that you have one over the other, but identifying which one you have will help you control it better. Keep in mind that the only way to financial freedom is by behaving like an investor, making your money work for you. Even the highest yield savings account will never match inflation, so by saving money, you're quite literally throwing some of it away. For the record, I'm not saying that you shouldn't save money. I'm not saying you shouldn't put something away for a rainy day, but what I am saying is that if your money isn't working for you, you will always be a slave to it. The world is more unpredictable than it's ever been in the past, and your secure job or even your savings account might not be as secure as you think. You don't just behave like an investor investing in one thing. I would recommend that you diversify. If 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 tanks, you always have a backup plan. You do not want to be in a position where you just lose everything all at once. And it can happen, don't think it can't. As a general rule, I would say be pessimistic about what could happen, but optimistic about what will happen. I'm gonna be making lots more fun videos like this one about money, entrepreneurship, lifestyle travel, and I've got one coming out where I managed to get Airbnb to give me 450 euros. That one is coming soon. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. I appreciate you the most. Don't tell anybody. Make sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell notification if you want to take a walk through the city, through the forest, and discuss important matters like gentlemen. See you guys.